Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your week. This is the Pop Culture Roundup. Sophie is off every other week, so I always pick one of my favorite people to talk to. Now, you might be like, wait, Ryan, we just heard from her last week, even though she was amazing. Did you forget that you had her on last week? No, I did not forget, but we talked about something in that discussion last Tuesday that it is so bizarre to me, because we were literally going, hey, what's going on with Armie Hammer? What's happening with this person? It's been a minute. And sure enough, on Friday, what they'll do, I even felt something in my pop culture bones where I was like, it's Friday afternoon, evening. This is usually the time when they announce celebrity divorces or Bravo cast shakeups, something they always put on Friday night, because then PR thinks that's an easy way to go through the weekend. And sure enough, around 8 or 9 p.m. that night, we got an Airmail article. Airmail is a digital magazine now from the creators of Vanity Fair that came out about Armie Hammer in his own words. So we're going to do the pop culture roundup. There's a bunch of stuff I want to talk about. And if I don't get to it with our guest, I'll do it in the wraparounds at the beginning of the show. But I really want to break down this article, because I think not only we've been covering Armie for so long, but also just because in terms of the pop culture landscape, how PR works, how it moves, why it's important to you and should be important. So welcome back, somebody that I think is so beyond qualified to talk about this, Lauren Skae, or as you know her, at the Zen Blonde. Welcome back to the show.
Hey, Ryan, I hope you all missed me so much. I know it's been a really long time.
By the way, I got so many good compliments on you that I'm sure people are psyched to hear you, but I hate that we have to talk about a serious subject, and hopefully we'll bring some laughs along the way. I don't know really how, I mean, just in my natural goofiness, I will, but I want to also say up top before we get into this, just a gigantic trigger warning for concepts and things that we're going to talk about. We will try to walk them through it in a delicate way, but I want everybody to know that we are dealing with things like rape, things like abuse, the Me Too movement, and we're going to go through it in our way. But I just want to say that up top, because sometimes, of course, it's going to make everybody uncomfortable. Lauren, I guess, I mean, how are you? It's Sunday morning, and let's start with something humorous. You said right before we started, you were like, hey, this is good, because I'm gonna go try to find some Grammy people later, because the Grammys are being held in Los Angeles tonight. What did you mean by, are you going with Beyonce to the Grammys tonight?
I wish. I actually just found the person who had made her amazing disco ball cowboy hat on TikTok, and they make them on Etsy. And
wait, the one she actually uses?
Yes. This girl just had a little Etsy shop, and they're like, this is for Beyonce. And she's like, maybe this is like a prank. And she, sure enough, then sees her little Etsy hat business on the album art, which I thought was amazing that I saw that this morning.
Wait, you guys, this is she's talking about the album cover for Renaissance, and we're actually the tour too. She's all in these kind of mirror ball, like bikini hat and all of this, very sexy. By the way, this is, if they put these kind of outfits in that show Yellowstone, I would be more apt to watch it. If we had Beyonce's in mirror ball cowboy outfits, I would so be down for that.
I want some space cowboys.
Yeah, man. I love, by the way, I love, the only country person I absolutely love is Casey Musgraves. And that's straddling the line of country. I think that's more pop now than country. So wait, so what are you going to do with the Grammys? Where are you going?
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
So I am not sure if anyone else does this, but if so, I'm giving you a little tip. If you want to go on a pop culture safari, what you do is on the morning of the Oscars, the morning of the Grammys, the morning of any award show, if you just go get brunch at one of the nice hotels in LA, you're going to see some shit. And if you don't, you're at least going to feel like you step back into time, and everyone's dressed in black tie. And I love being in that energy. I always dress up for it. I'm getting changed after this call. I didn't want to be too formal on my
Lauren, I'm at the Days Inn in Hollywood. I don't see anybody here yet. When will the celebrities be coming to this Holiday Inn?
You gotta go to the Sunset Tower. And honestly,
is that where you, by the way, this doesn't come out till Monday. So is that where you're going, Sunset Tower?
So I'm going to go to the Sunset Tower, grab a drink, see what there is to see. You have to go before 3, because after 3, we only open to hotel guests.
Okay, so
where'd you go, Ryan?
Okay, sorry. There we go. Yeah. So you have to get there before 3 to get in, right? So you're just going, are you going with John Joseph?
John Joseph, potentially, he's on crutches right now, but my sister's coming with me, and it's just like the energy is really fun. So if you're into pop culture, I don't know, just literally just could be out and about on during the award show.
Literally, I am into pop culture, but it is so hard for me to actually even leave my house. I mean, not leave,
Brian, blink twice. Somebody's forcing you to podcast this.
By the way, no, I mean, that sounds amazing, but then I'm like, oh, I got to put the old pants on. I got to button the tree, see if I can button the pants. So yeah, the Grammys are tonight, which I was going to start there before we're going to get into the Army stuff. But Beyonce is going to perform, I believe, tonight. Is that correct?
I don't know about Beyonce, but I heard Miley Cyrus, SZA, and Harry Styles. So I'm sad to be missing this.
Beyonce and Jay-Z threw a pre-Grammys party on Friday night, and then Clive Davis's Grammys party was on Saturday night. Now, Clive Davis is the guy who discovered Whitney Houston, and like he has been, I mean, he's been around so long. I think he's in his mid 80s now, but he just throws these legendary Saturday night pre-Grammy parties. And we saw yesterday that last night, Cardi B and her husband from the rap group Migos were on the red carpet, and he was literally impregnating her on the red carpet. Did you see the footage?
Oh my God, no. Is it like a Kravis situation or?
Oh man, it makes Kravis look like, you know, really prude almost. They were like tongue kissing, and I mean, it was the whole nine. And her husband Offset, which by the way, they're going to be doing, they're going to be honoring the Migos, because unfortunately one of the members of Migos was tragically shot and killed this year. So there's going to be but it looks like he's feeling good again, but they were totally going at it. I suggest everybody look up those photos. If
you think they do it because they're like just really into each other in the moment, or do you think that they do it because they know that it's going to shock people and create a headline?
I think you probably get bored a little bit and you're like, let's do something fun. Let's spice, because I don't think it's not like with Kravis. I genuinely believe they're horny for each other 24/7. I don't think it ever ends, the horniness. Yeah. But I think with this, I think it's like because like, Lauren, have you ever thought about like, imagine going to 80 events in a year? Like I always think about this with Machine Gun Kelly and Megan Fox. Like it's got to get really tough. Like parties are fun, but at a certain point, your job is going to parties, and that becomes really boring. So I would imagine with like Cardi B and that, like it's part of a way to kind of make it fun for themselves as well, potentially.
Yeah, no, absolutely. When I lived in New York, I worked in experiential marketing. So I felt like I was at an event almost every night at certain points. And we worked with like amazing brands and big fashion and tech and all these different things. So at first it was really, really exciting. And like, even just somebody working those things, you get such burnout. And I mean, you worked at a club, so I feel like.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I felt nothing at times when people would just be partying their balls off, and you would just be like, oh, well, this is just another night at work. I'm just trying to eventually get home. So you really don't think about it. I remember working at the Emmys one year, and I was like backstage at the Emmys, and then I worked at the after event, and it was like just star after star. But at the same time, you're just like, oh, I'm still here working. I can't really truly have fun. So it's fun to watch all of this stuff, but at the same time, you're not a part of it too. So you're watching kind of like a zoo in a way. You're just like, oh, this would be, I wish I could be like in there, like mucking around with everybody. But you know, I worked at the Emmys the year Kathy Griffin went with one of the co-founders of Apple. He was like one of the original guys that, not Steve Jobs, but the other guy, Wozniacek, I believe his name was. Yeah, it was like
so random.
Yeah, it's so random. And I remember it was the year Kanye was there. It was the year like Dick in the Box got nominated for like Lonely Island. Kanye was there for something, and I remember him walking by with his girlfriend at the time. This is way pre-Kim, and just thinking, oh wow, like it was interesting. I think Steve Carell, Steve Carell, Jon Stewart, and what's the guy? Late Show. The guy that hosts Late Show.
Steve Colbert.
Stephen Colbert. Sorry. One of those guys won, and the other two had presented that award. And so all three of them came backstage and were jumping up and down, like hugging each other. Like it was so funny and fun to watch these three friends. And you're just like, oh, that kind of like, that reminds me of real life, actually, of three people like, can you believe we're here? This is crazy, you know?
It was crazy. I went to the Emmys for the first time this year. A friend invited me, and I got to see Jennifer Coolidge give her speech.
Oh,
I got
wow.
to see the amazing Abbott Elementary speech, and then like Kenan Thompson was hosting, and like for me, like that was like lifetime like goal, like vision board, like just even going to the Emmys, I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I can't believe I'm
Oh,
here, you know?
I mean, the first weekend I had lived in Los Angeles with my ex-girlfriend, it was a Sunday, and it was Golden Globe Sunday, and they always take place at the Beverly Hilton. And I said, let's go drive and just see what we can see. And we did. And it was like, it was a rainy Sunday, and you could kind of like, but you could kind of see some stuff. And then we walked around the back, and all of a sudden, flipping Jack Nicholson is like out there on like a where all the like service trucks come in, and you can see it's Jack Nicholson, and he's like out there smoking a cigarette with his glasses on, and me just being like a complete, like, I lose it. I'm like, Jack, and I'm like jumping up and down, waving my eyes. And this is, he looks at me, doesn't acknowledge me, and just keeps smoking, because he's just like, what a fucking loser, like it was amazing. But I was so excited. I'd never seen a celebrity, that big of a celebrity, in real life.
Okay, that was like the first time I saw Lisa Vanderpump. I was in John's car. She ignored me and I screamed out the window. And then I made him circle the block. And then she was like, hi. And he's like, like veneers, like she's giving you the fakest smile, Lauren. She does not want you screaming out the car window.
Well, I mean, I'll tell this and then we'll get going. But the first, I remember my uncle, before he passed away, he lived in Glendale, California, and we'd come out to visit him on like summer trips or like here and there. And I remember driving down Sunset Boulevard with my dad and my uncle. And that was when Tower Records used to be on Sunset Boulevard, which was like a legendary Tower Records. And I had seen that from like just Hollywood stills of like Sunset Boulevard and things like that. And I saw, like, we're driving down, I see Whoopi Goldberg walk into Tower Records. And I'm like, holy shit, Dad, stop. And I'm like 13 or 14 at the time. And I'm a young actor. I'm like, I really want to do this. And Whoopi Goldberg, what an amazing actor. And I'm from Kansas, moved to Arizona. I'm like, and so I go in, and this is back when like CDs, you guys, well, they used to have a thing called CDs, but CDs used to come in these really long boxes. It was like such a waste of paper. And I remember Whoopi Goldberg in there shopping, and she had like 40 CDs in her arms. And I just remember thinking, oh my God, she's so rich. She can buy 40 CDs at once. And I just went up and I said, Miss Goldberg, I'm a young actor and I'm a huge fan of yours. And I just wanted to say you do amazing work. I didn't ask for an autograph. This is before phones, so there would be no pictures. She looks at me and just turns around and walks away, doesn't even acknowledge me. And my dad watched this go down, and my dad was like, oh, I'm about to say something. Like, Mom, Dad, don't embarrass me in front of Whoopi Goldberg. But she just completely ignored me. And that's why I get so nervous around, even when I sometimes talk to celebrities on here or even, because I never know. Like, I remember just being ignored after, but also I'm like a creepy 14-year-old. I mean, people used to call me pubic head because my kid.
No, that was so lame. I love hearing the stories where people are just such gems. My friend was telling me a story about, she was at the old Nobu. She was 14 years old. This was a long time ago. She was in the bathroom, like just kind of like looking.
And Leonardo DiCaprio came right up to her.
And he's like, in 4 years, sweetie. Like, no. She's in the bathroom looking in the mirror, like, you're 14, you're kind of like at that insecure age, and out walks Pamela Anderson from the bathroom, and she goes, you are absolutely gorgeous. And it was because she wanted to leave her with a nice moment. And I love hearing stories like that. I worked in retail at a certain point. Leah Michelle personally victimized me 3 times when I met her. And I've listened, and like there's
what you sing in your face, what you do?
I was talking to her and her mans because they needed help. And she's like, talk to him, not me. I went up to her and asked her if she needed help. She said, she literally clipped in my face like Dorinda and was like, no.
Have you ever treated anybody in your actual real life like that?
No. It's just crazy. It's just crazy because the stories are true, and now she has to put on a good act so she can get work. But yeah.
What do you think I mean, this is actually interesting, even in terms of the Armie Hammer discussion. Do you think people can change? This seems to be a big theme in this article as well, is can people change? Can we, can the housewives overused word is, can we give them grace? Can we give them space? Can we allow them an opportunity to change? Can Leah Michelle change? Can Armie Hammer change? And what is our responsibility as consumers? Because it's never about like wanting them to continue their own lives, because, people aren't like, they do get to continue their own lives. They're not in jail, but they're actually wanting to be back in the power seat where they can make money off of their chosen art form. Do you think people like Leah Michelle can change?
Yeah, I do. I mean, listen, I think at a certain point, like some people are just mean and like they stay mean, but I wouldn't want to say, it would be very pessimistic to think that people couldn't change. And I hope people can change, especially people that are just mean and not people that are like rapey. Like, those people I have like,
there's a difference. Yes.
But like somebody that's just been like nasty to people. I mean, to be fair, she did go through a lot of trauma, I would say, losing, her boyfriend, from Glee. So
Corey, yeah.
Maybe that turned her. I don't know. There's also a lot of stuff about her having been a kind of a mean girl on the show. I got to see
a lot of stuff.
And you know what? It isn't affecting her that much because my best friend John loves her. Just still.
Yeah. People. Yeah. I mean, that is the thing I was reading. Well, I was reading the Army article, which you guys all link to in the show description, as well as the at the Zen Blonde, all of her social media accounts, which are really, really worth following, is that I was thinking that 30% of people will always be on your side. Whether it be a housewife, whether it be like Heather Gay is going through persecution right now because it really seems like she had a really bad season this season. And a lot of people were waking up to the fact like, oh, maybe she's not the person I thought she was from the show. But then if you take it even to a more extreme level, this Army stuff, it was interesting. I posted on Friday night, and I think you posted as well. And we were texting. I noticed one person in particular on my page that was like, I always figure this. It's hard with those comments with any social media because you don't want anybody to get piled on. You don't want anybody to get, you don't want to make somebody's night worse. But at the same time, this person, I also thought, oh, this person might be a couple drinks in. And they said, hey, it was a very Brandy Glanville kind of like, hey, I don't care what he did. He's hot. He can eat me. And then she kind of went in a couple more times because I was like, oh, geez, really? I wrote, oh, geez, really? And then everybody else started piling on that comment.
It was probably Brandy's Finsta.
What'd she say?
It's probably Brandy's Finsta.
Yeah, Brandy. No, it's like, and I know the person who did, not very well, but I was just like, oh man, like, and you have that ability to like delete your comment or something, but it's one of those things you're like, oh man, now we're just kind of creating another fight when you want the spotlight being on the article. Like, read the article, see what you think about what is said, what Armie has said about himself. And also, but I thought it was just the insane thing about celebrity to begin with, and people that are just magnetic and good looking, is that people will always be more apt to believe you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, even I remember on TikTok, Rosie O'Donnell was making a comment about the documentary and she's like, I don't know, I feel kind of sorry for this Armie Hammer. I'm gonna have to watch the full documentary. And it's like, I wasn't mad at Rosie for saying that because I think that she was just having a reaction to like the beginning of what she was seeing maybe. But I think sometimes when people are attractive and, they've been on our TV screens, maybe, some people are apt to forgive them. Or I think there's a lot of people that haven't paid attention to the full story. So they don't know the details of like what really happened and maybe chalk it up to something like kink shaming because they haven't actually been following along for as long as like you and I have.
Yeah. And so and this is interesting too, because we once again deal with House of Effie, and House of Effie has, as much as she's told her story in bits and pieces and posted Instagram DMs and all of these things between her and Armie and revealed a lot of information herself. So this gets re-litigated almost in this article. But I also thought this article was so very interesting in a really weird way, because it's like, hey, all that Me Too stuff that we've been really hyper vigilant about? What if, just go with me here, what if we didn't believe women? What if we actually went back to just believing men of power? Like, I really thought, I was like, wow, that's, at the end of the day, this is the thesis of this article. It's like, what if women are assholes?
And what if they, if only I could get this information that I've tried to subpoena from Meta, these messages would exonerate me. And it's like,
yes,
okay.
There are details what she's referring to, you guys, is I took so many notes on this. First off, so I just want to say this is written by a guy named James Kirchick for Airmail, which I said this is their new emails, like not a zine, but it's like from Vanity Fair, who is edited by Graydon Carter. This is Graydon Carter's. There's a lot of money in this new Airmail thing that's happening. That's what it's called. In fact, they just did a really exhaustive 2-part article on the Idaho murders. Actually, I don't know if you read that. That was an Airmail thing that's happened over the last month. So they're putting a lot of money in this right now. So I think this is exactly the kind of article that they want to publish, because I also want to say this, as much as this article does, they're counting on people like us talking about it, right?
Yeah, I mean, which is like it's a double-edged sword, but yeah, I mean, it's really crazy. I mean, for anyone listening that hasn't read it, he basically goes through all of the people individually that have accused him and, his aunt. What's crazy
Casey,
is
yeah.
on the back end, people obviously send me things that I can't share publicly, but what I can say is that he goes into this diatribe about a beach ball and how a beach ball, people are like beach balls. And Ryan, if you want to read it, I'll let you.
Yeah. I took so many notes. Let me put, guys, this is worth reading. If I could read this to you guys. Let's see here. Here we go. Hammer compares his reaction to hearing this odd bit of biographical information to a submerged beach ball exploding upward. Human behavior is like a beach ball, he explains. Your beach ball is who you are. It's how much you like to drink, how much you like to smoke, how much you like to have sex, how much you need to sleep at night. And you can take your beach ball and push it underwater and hold it there, he says, either for a religious institution or another person or whatever. But eventually that beach ball is going to slip. And that beach ball does not gently rise to the surface. It shoots way up in the air. Now, when Effie told him that she used to work in a sex club, Hammer says, my beach ball slipped and it just shot way up in the air. It probably wasn't a week later that I had been messaging her a lot, like throughout the day, and it got extremely explicit. So, by the way, this is like, Wilson from Castaway has got to be freaking out because he's like, what? No, I do not bring beach balls into this. That's where the article, and this is pretty quickly in the article, that's where it kind of lost me of like, you've literally thought of this little beach ball thing, and this is what you're going
analogy
with?
Because somebody sent me him talking about it a few years ago, which I can obviously is not going to get put
a few years ago.
Yeah, when he was not sober. Do you know what I'm saying? So this must have been a high thought he had at some point, and he has just held on to this analogy, and this is his way of justifying everything that he's done. That he was just a beach ball under so much pressure, and then instead of rising to the surface quietly and becoming normal and reaching like a normal point, he shot up into the air, and it was so out of his control because he was just weak and couldn't control himself. Like it's just, the whole article is honestly a bunch of bullshit, and it's a lot of victim blaming, and it's a lot of like he said, she said, and it's like, dude, this many women don't come forward if you didn't do something wrong.
Well, they also go into that thing of like, oh, wow, like this whole group of women, here is what is wrong with each one of them. Here is listen, here's a DM exchange where the girl seemed into it. Here's a girl, and this is what you had said earlier, just to explain to them a little bit more, is that, he now says that the quote unquote rape fantasy, the BDSM with House of Effie, this was agreed to down to the, go get her at Starbucks. I take her, she said this whole rape fantasy, because Effie has said that she was held against her will for 4 hours and he did things against her will. Now he's saying this was detailed out in these Instagram DM messages, but these Instagram DM messages are no longer anywhere to be found. And that supposedly they had reached out to Meta, the company that owns Facebook and Instagram, to try to recover these DMs. Now he said, guys, if this stuff was recovered, this wouldn't be an issue. This would have been, I'm like, well, dude, it would have been an issue because you still have the sickness in your head. And then you also take away the fact of like, not kink shaming or BDSM, but you had admitted to engaging in multiple affairs against your wife, who this was not an agreed upon thing. In fact, he makes a point in the article that he did tell Elizabeth, like, I feel so empty. I'm cheating. And she goes, and she didn't take it too well. Like, kind of like
No
she
shit.
had a real opportunity to support me in this and she did not like this. And then they even go into kind of like suggesting that Elizabeth and Effie co-conspired against Army. And this is where it gets really, you gotta, as Army said in his statement about getting out of Shotgun Wedding, I cannot go film this movie with Jennifer Lopez, but now I need to be with my kids on these bullshit and spurious attacks. Well, now it feels like this is spurious as well. If you're going to start saying that Elizabeth and Effie conspired against Army.
So basically, Elizabeth went on E! And she did a whole interview regarding Army, saying that he was the best co-parent and he's her best friend and blah, 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 blah. Then that definitely set off, obviously very rightfully so. Effie was upset by that. And she released, dialogue between her and Elizabeth that showed that Elizabeth was, writing to her and saying these different things and trying to assist in, not taking down Army, but proving that what he had done was real, because she, to be fair, is a mom with 2 kids. And, I wouldn't want somebody around my kids that had maybe done certain things.
Well, I mean, I know you're probably not watching Real Housewives of Miami right now, but I am, and a lot of the people out there listening are. So to compare it to something that you can relate to right now, Lisa Hochstein. Lenny had the hot mic moment where he's obviously with the 25-year-old girl. They had been in a over 12-year relationship, and she is wanting to find out information more about Lenny cheating and stuff like that. She also has 2 kids that she wants to make sure are protected by. So a mother, I would imagine, is going to do everything in their power to make sure their kids are okay. So Elizabeth DMing with House of Effie does not shock me, nor do I think that's a smoking gun of any sort, because I would imagine if you go up against somebody like Army, and especially the Hammer family, you would want to get all of your ducks in a row, because these people used to take glee in the 60s and 70s about taking people down. And that's what that documentary or the docuseries House of Hammer kind of focused in on. I don't even know that much about Army and what he has up his sleeve, but his family was notorious for doing things like this.
Well, and what was crazy was then that was the catalyst for one of Elizabeth's former friends coming forward anonymously to a publication with information about, the network of kind of the women, essentially chatting with each other and trying to help each other when all this was originally unfolding, even though everyone thought that they were just all kind of strangers. And what was even crazier about that is I knew that for over a year because she had reached out to me, but I was like, I'm not putting this out there. And also I totally understand that they had to work together against a family with that much money, like trying to protect your kids, trying to do all these, trying to help protect the freaking kids, trying to get justice for what happened.
But also think about just even on the basis of we've all been in relationships, a lot of us. Think about being in love with somebody and then realizing, holy shit, my husband or my wife is into like S&M and all. And I'm not saying S&M is bad, you guys. I'm just saying, what if they didn't have full knowledge? Army even says, and they point out in the Playboy interview that he did like 8 or 9 years ago that, listen, yeah, I am into some light spanking and stuff like that. But with my wife, she's my wife. I can't grab her hair. That's disrespectful to my wife. But it's also like, okay, but this is what's interesting about trying to know yourself before you get into these big relationships is that Army did, well, this is also somebody else, I think Anna Peel on Twitter pointed this out even in regards to the article. The author of this article says that he makes up a couple slip ups where Army says in the article that he did some light BDSM before marriage, but then at another point in the article said that he wasn't into BDSM until into the marriage.
Right.
And he had liked a bunch of things on Twitter with Shibari, which is the rope BDSM Japanese rope style, I believe. Yeah. Is that what it is? So there was a couple slip ups even in the article of like, you're painting this picture. Also, like any good, I guess what they're trying to do is redeem Army to some sense, is that they put out the why. They put out the why. And the why now is that it is revealed through Army that when he was a kid, there was a year-long where a church pastor, he doesn't say specifically what happened, a church pastor potentially or abused him. So he thinks that's where maybe a lot of this stuff came from, is the feeling caged or trapped, or he thinks that's where this came from. Now, listen, if you're going to come out with that is, and he says there were two people that he had told of this. One was his godmother and one was a friend who has since passed away. And the godmother did vouch for this story, according to the article. What was your opinion on this?
So, I studied psych in college. I remember when I was in my classes, I learned about like victims of abuse and like victims of pedophilia. And like at the time, the rhetoric was like, oh, they could be more likely to be abusers. But actually, because every like 10 years, science like books change. Like you're never gonna have the same. Pluto was a freaking planet when we were in school, okay? So
Wait. What's Pluto now?
I don't think Pluto is considered a planet. I think it's considered.
Fuck! Where is there some kind of newsletter? I didn't even know this.
This is old news.
Oh my god! Breaking
I don't
news,
know,
you guys.
I don't know what it's considered, like a satellite.
Is it that Chinese weather balloon? What is it?
It is.
Yeah.
Actually, that was Pluto.
Okay, sorry about that.
So like basically, like I thought this information was current. It's not. And actually, like the idea that like somebody who's a victim is more likely to be a perpetrator is actually really damaging to people that have been victimized. And there's just
because you're saying a lot of people that have been victimized do not then turn around and then start to make their own victims, to start repeating that behavior.
Had horrible things happen to them, and it's made them like a million times more compassionate and like wanting to be like protectors of people, like, and want to make sure that everyone's safe and nothing bad happens to anyone. And so it's kind of just like a BS argument. And listen, none of us want that to happen to anyone, even Armie Hammer. I feel bad.
My God, no. Are you kidding me?
But
nobody wants that to happen.
It's not an excuse. And it's like, okay, you're volunteering this information to try to be like, well, this happened to me. And like, this might be the reason why. And it's like, no, that's really sad. But that happens, unfortunately, to a lot of people that don't then go on to like,
do the things that to make other people be victims. The other thing I thought, one of these ideas though, and we had mentioned this earlier, but what kind of bothers me about the overall tone of this article is that, he's saying everything was taken away from me. Everything was taken away. This is how, this person has ruined these years of my life. When once again, now we're pointing it at one person, which is Effie, when it's like, wait a sec, there's multiple documentation of you doing this, to you being really sleazy. I mean, I don't know if you want to call it abuse, but being really sleazy in DMs and knowing that there's a power differential because you are a celebrity, a star, a very good looking actor, and very charming. So, there's a power differential. And by the way, this also predisposes that Armie doesn't realize he's charming. Armie does know he's very charming. And in fact, his friends are name checked in this article, including Tyler Ramsey. And they're all like, yeah, we knew Armie had this weird BDSM thing. And we told him he was probably going to get caught. Like they almost say it's like, man, when you love to force anal sex on people, it's going to come back to haunt you. Like it's almost kind of like we would deserve to be caught, LOL. And it's like this fucking boys club. And it's so weird. Like the guy friends I have in my life, we don't, and sorry, but we don't go around talking about like, hey, anal sex, this, and like, did you force this girl again? Hey, let me smell your fingers, bro. We don't talk anything about that. Like I've been around guys where we're like, oh, that girl's so hot, but it's never gone to like, oh man, tell me what you do to her, dude. Like we've never gone that deep. And maybe like, am I not having the right male? I think I am having the right male.
Oh, all right. That's very positive.
Yeah.
That's very positive. No, I mean, it was definitely just like a victim blaming article. And what's funny is like, it's not funny, but what I think my prediction is in the next few weeks is like someone sent me some info about Armie's father's funeral because it hasn't happened yet. And
yes, and that's going to be a celebration. Happen. Yeah, it's going to be a celebration of life in the next month. His father, Michael Hammer, who had been sick for a while, passed away a month ago, which by the way, interesting really, because they did this interview, I guess, a couple in December, and this finally came out at the beginning of February, and his dad passed away. I'm trying to, when did his dad pass away?
It was like a month ago. It was like just like end of December, I want to say.
I'm curious when this interview took place and opposed to when, and also I wonder if they, what's that?
I think it was right around the time that he passed. I'm trying to think of like the context of where I was, because I found out before a lot of people.
Yeah.
I got a DM, and again, like, I didn't say a word to anyone because I'm not going to be the announcer of some like evil man's death. But
And I will say to your credit, like when I even text with you, and I'm never really looking for dirt and stuff, but we'll have conversations. You'll come up with, oh, there was this thing, and I would never say that. Like, you'll say like you're very protective of anybody that does come forward with information, and you're not out there making like you've sat on a lot of stuff, not even just with this, but with anything that people come to you with.
my hair is full of secrets. You know what I mean? I'm like Gretchen
Well,
Wieners.
I mean, take a shower or something. My God, like.
I gotta wash them out. Yeah, somebody. I want the guys from Men in Black that could like erase your memory to come and just to be like, we're just gonna give you a reset. But yeah, you know what? Like, I think there's just some things that like need to not be said, and obviously this family is scary for people, and you know, there's a lot behind that. But yeah, I think that what they're doing is they release this now, then in like, you know, a few weeks, we're going to see pictures of Army mourning, probably in like a funeral, like his funeral blacks. They're going to go into
very handsome, but going through something.
Yeah. And it's like, how do you not feel something for someone whose parent passed? And then, you know what I mean? So I think that that's kind of the rollout here. If I were to guess, if I were his PR person, I mean, what do you think, Ryan? Do you think that
Well, I'm curious. My curiosity really, if we're to take away the feelings behind all of this, is just from, and this is what I say, this story is important just in terms of PR. We talk a lot about this with Kardashians and stuff, and the Kardashians, it comes out even like, a decade later, they'll be like, yeah, that flower bombing incident with Kim, that was completely set up, So we do know that people have used PR to rehab images, to set things up. So my thing is, I want to know, is there a PR firm that Army has on retainer right now? There has to be of some sort. They had this article, and by the way, the author of this article says that this article was Army reached out through an intermediary who I would really love to know that intermediary. I mean, is it Robert Downey Jr.? It could be a string of people who is invested in Army rehabbing their career, one. And then two, you would be ignorant to then not use. If you are using things, you would be ignorant to not use. And I'm not saying Army is not completely soul crushed about the passing of his father, but you would have to realize that this does bolster your story. So like you said, if this comes out now in a couple of weeks or whenever the, service for his father will be, this will be another reentry of like, okay, we got an article where Army has admitted that he is just a cad. He was just an asshole to some of these women. He sometimes ghosted them, he said. Wow. And then you see them mourning. So this is really a 1-2 punch in a way. And I hate to be cold and think of it that way, but I think you would be ignorant in Hollywood to not think of it that way.
Well, and he's also talking about how, sobriety is going well for him, and he's now going to move in with somebody who needs like a sober,
yes,
like, I don't know, companion.
He said he doesn't need the help anymore with his addiction. So he's ready to pay it forward and be a sponsor.
Who's gonna live with him? Like I would, you'd have to be crazy to.
Well, he also, there's just a couple things, like there also is an American Express bill that American Express sued him for like $67,000.
Apparently now that's weird though, according to the article, like apparently that it was dropped. So I guess somebody paid for it.
Well, my thing is with that is that he says he did go to his family for money for lawyers. He said, of course I did for that. Because he said, hey, man, I'm broke. I barely have anything to my name. But also then I was like, and this is where my mind, and I think a lot of us, and I'm not a sleuth, or nor do I want to be one, but I'm like, well, shit, did the American Express charge really exist? Do we have any documentation? It's like with Housewives, even with Robin Dixon this week, you guys on Potomac, I'm like, let's get documentation forever, for everything. If Heather Gay in Salt Lake says she's going to therapy, let me see a receipt. I don't believe anything that anybody says anymore. So my thing is also American Express. Well, that kind of seems, because you're like, oh, he really is broke. That makes you feel a little sympathy for him. Like, wow, I've been late on my American Express card. And what's
funny? I don't think it's like a brokenness. I think it's like money that will eventually come to him is tied up, and he's used to spending in a way that like none of us would ever understand for the most part. So then, of course he racks up the $67,000. I mean, he and his brother, I think, were caught using the Amexes from the Hammer Foundation, which is the family's museum, to the tune of, I think, around $2 million at one point. I've
Oh,
never spent
wow.
that much money in my life over like a few years. So I can't even imagine like the lifestyle that these people are accustomed to, or like the things that they're, and I mean, I enjoy the finer things in life, but that's on a different level. That's crazy to me. So
It really is crazy. And by the way, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Michael Hammer in his will, I believe a lot of it goes to the other son, not Army, but the other son, correct?
I'm not
That's
really
what I had
sure
read
how the
somewhere.
will has been split up. But there was just there's a dispute between Army Hammer's brother Victor and Army Hammer's stepmom because she tried to retrieve $2 million that was bequeathed to her, and he, according to her, unlawfully blocked her from it. So I have no idea what's going on with the will, but it'll be interesting to see, and it'll be interesting to see how much money was actually, still around. I mean, they have Arm & Hammer's Rolls Royce. They have these things that are worth a lot of money. And then there's stuff tied up in the foundation. So I don't know how that will all shake out, but
Well, I mean, the other thing, the idea though is like, everything's been taken away from him, blah, 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 which like, I guess his movie and TV career, which was, by the way, on the decline already. In fact, you could make the argument, and I would, just because this is now what I kind of focus my life on, is that in a lot of ways, any attention is good attention, a lot of people think. So this actually has him out there more than his career would have had him out there, because the projects he turned down, or the projects he got let go of, who knows which is which, was The Offer, which was a Paramount Plus thing on the making of The Godfather. That didn't do well. You have the Jennifer
Shotgun
Lopez
Wedding.
movie Shotgun Wedding that I watched, and I didn't really. I mean, it is what it is. And there was another project. Oh, he was in Gaslit, which was a show for stars with Julia Roberts and Sean Penn. And to that I say, wait, what? Julia Roberts and Sean Penn did a TV show called Gaslit? I'd heard about it, you guys, but that's what I'm saying, is that, it's so skewed now. It's like not just movies. We have all these streaming things of all of these things in his career. I don't know if they really would have done anything for him. He had bomb
Like,
after bomb.
it's like those people who like played high school football and are like, man, you know what? I just tried out for the Giants. Like I would have been huge. I would have been this like huge, like he kind of, I think the retrospective on his career is kind of like that, where it's like, you guys, this isn't a Jack Nicholson. Like this isn't somebody who, to me, I'm sorry, was that amazing of an actor. I watched Death on the Nile bootleg because I don't want to give them any money. I watched it on 1, 2, 3 movies. It was somebody like, I love Agatha Christie. I was so upset, but I mean, I felt like he was slipping in and out of a British accent, and I felt like I was watching community theater.
Which, by the
Nothing
way,
wrong with community theater, but I was like,
wait, Laura, this is exactly why I bring that up. Community theater. Is that okay? So say that I was really trying to think this through, of like, did we take away everything from Army? Did we? Even though he made a lot of these actions, he reached out to these women. He, was the aggressor in a lot of ways. He used his celebrity and power to like really kind of just fuck. And he, that's a lot of ways that should be, owed to him, I think he believes. So he also brings up working in the Grand Cayman Islands, like off the books. And somebody, a paparazzi came in and got pictures of him. And then there's like immigration shit happening now. And he's just trying to put bread on the table for his family, which I think this is another shady part of this story, because first off, the picture, if you see him working in the Grand Caymans, is like so obvious that Army, especially knowing when paparazzi is around and stuff like that, and you're dealing with one person and you see that person pull out a phone and even like just point it like this, you would be like, what are you doing? Like, first, I just don't believe that to be the case.
well,
And also,
okay, like, what do you think? Because the thing is, he gets photographed outside of Bristol Farms with his stepmom all the time. And it's like, are there really photographers waiting outside of Bristol Farms? Or when he's,
sometimes there are like,
I've never seen paparazzi in Venice. He gets snapped up in Venice all the time. And I'm like, he must be calling these people on himself.
oh, dude, Bronwyn Wyndham Burke from Real Housewives of Orange County. By the way, you guys, you like how I'm bringing in housewives every chance I get? Runyon Canyon, which is in the middle of Los Angeles. Runyon Canyon, which is like, it's a hike, but it's not like a hike where, I mean, I just did it yesterday, didn't see any paparazzi. I've hiked there millions of times, never see paparazzi. And I've seen Colin Farrell there. I've seen Justin Bieber hikes there. And all of a sudden, Bronwyn Wyndham Burke, all these photos wind up in the Daily Mail of her and her new girlfriend hiking Runyon Canyon. By the way, her girlfriend's in like a full leather ensemble, and that's just not good hiking gear at all. But it's like, yeah, you called these people to get these photos because it's like they just don't sit around and wait at Runyon Canyon. Like I've been there all times of the day. I've been there weekends, weekdays. It just doesn't happen.
The only
So
places they like wait are Giorgio Baldi, like that Italian restaurant.
Craig's.
Craig's, Nobu, and those are kind of the big three, I would say.
Yeah, they're not like Jack in the
There
Box
are
on a Saturday
places
night.
that
You know?
I think people go. There's certain restaurants that you can go to. Like I remember when Machine Gun Kelly and Megan Fox stepped out, or when Jen and Ben were stepping out, like they intentionally go to Nobu because they know they're going to get photographed. But and there's those big places that you can go when you want to set up PR. But then I think there's these people just calling. Nobody's waiting outside of Bristol Farms for Armie Hammer. You know?
I mean, they might be waiting out there for a bigger celebrity, but not Armie Hammer. But the thing is, like, you've taken away my, even being able to work. And my thing is like, boo hoo, first off, if you really are concerned about your future, go back to school, like be a lawyer, be a doctor. These things are not like, guys, he's able to live a very full life.
Would
Nobody
you
is
trust
telling
him
me
as your lawyer or doctor?
Would I trust Tom Girardi as my lawyer? No. I mean, like, these are things that like doesn't even matter. Like what I'm saying is that he can work. Like, do not, it's just that he doesn't, it's got to be more specific. He wants to be where he once was. He wants to be where he once was.
Insane people that want to still like engage with him, he could like literally start an OnlyFans. I know that's like awful.
Kind of. I mean,
like,
don't act like you need to sell timeshares, which I believe is completely a bullshit excuse. And I'm sorry. I believe that
poor person, like you're not poor.
Your family is so big in the Grand Cayman Islands, you would think people would be running over to give you money. I mean, listen, we found out on Salt Lake this week that Jen Shaw asked her castmates for money to go towards her defense. And she knew she was guilty and she had millions of dollars socked away that she has now given to restitution, but she was still asking people for money. So I just don't buy, I mean, all of these things I feel like are a sympathetic bent. Also, he does admit that Robert Downey Jr., is trying to help him get back on his feet. And Robert Downey Jr., of course, has not a similar story, but Robert Downey Jr. was a drug addict, is a drug addict, and he has been sober and clean for so long now, and really is a shining example of being able to turn your life around. But I remember I was a fan of Robert Downey Jr. from the very beginning, and it was so. I hated when he was like discovered in Malibu in that little boy's bed, or when he was on Ally McBeal and he got arrested at the hotel. I mean, he served prison time. So I think, there is that thing of wanting to save somebody, but then again, it just kind of turned my stomach because then also all of a sudden Armie started dropping Joseph Campbell quotes about the hero's journey. And I'm like, dude, why is your journey the hero's journey? I guess we're our own heroes in our own life, but like, think about all the victims. What about their hero's journey of trying to get over this? But instead, we just paint them as a liar. And once again, like, even though we say we support women, I just get so confused because every time we're talking about it on this show, it's about people calling women liars, women calling women liars. And like, there is enough things of, okay, so Effie supposedly, by the way, he also said Effie said she worked in a dungeon or a sex club, which I'm like, first off, that's like outing somebody to their own person. I don't know. It was
refuted that, and I think he's saying whatever he can to like.
But who cares if she did? That's her business.
And if she didn't, but if she did, if anyone works any job, that shouldn't be a reason to do anything to them. But the thing is, he said, he was like, if I could take this all back, I wouldn't, because this made me a better father and this made me a better person. And it's like, okay, I'm so glad this has worked out so well for you.
By the way, so you agree this has all been good. But he goes, if I had he was like, if I could, have one wish to go back before all this started, I wouldn't take it, because now I'm in a healthier, happier place. Somebody that can show up for their kids like they were never able to do, which, by the way, all fucking amazing, right? But like, then even in his shotgun wedding, when I say, I cannot leave my kids here in Grand Cayman and go off and shoot this movie in good conscience. But, even all reports said you weren't that active or great as a father when all of this stuff was happening. So it was like funny that he used the kids as an excuse, but now he's like, I really, truly think all of those things are great if they're true. Like, those are the things, but it's not the movie career. Like, you've been able to re-up all of this other stuff, your sobriety, supposedly. Like, they don't touch on where he's at dating wise, or if he's, by the way, BDSM, if you're into it, it doesn't go away. Like, that's still what turns him on. And that's not a bad thing. In fact, they actually name check, or Dan Savage, who I love. Actually, that's a podcast I actually listen to, the Savage Lovecast. And he is just such a brilliant man. And he talks about, listen, BDSM, it's such a weird topic for a lot of people. But these women could have completely agreed to this, but agreed to it because they thought they were going to be with Armie Hammer, and Armie Hammer, potentially, if he knew that this was like a sexual thing and he was going to be done with them in 2 months, that is a huge power differential still. And you are going to cause and wreak havoc in all of these women's lives. It's like a really slippery slope.
Absolutely. And I mean, the BDSM community was not happy about any of this because they're like, the foundation of everything that we do is consent. And, obviously there were a lot of non-consensual things that happened in all of this, given the women's, accounts of everything that went down. I mean, and you can see how shaken and traumatized these girls or women have been. So it's just really like, I felt like the article was such horse shit. I understand why Airmail did it because they probably got a ton of clicks. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was just really lame. And then he goes into how, he swam out into the ocean and thought about killing himself.
That was the quote I was looking for. Yes.
And I'm sure you're going to read but it's like, and then realized his kids were on the beach and was like, oh, I better not. Like, to me, it felt like I'm going to volunteer these sad moments of my depression or my childhood trauma as sort of like, to me, it's like Ted Bundy on the crutches. It's like, okay, like,
yeah,
it's not an excuse for anything. And I don't want anyone to be depressed or suicidal, but, still doesn't change what he did.
Well, and I think it just muddies the waters on what he actually did do. And that's what they're, it feels like they're chipping away at thing. Okay, let's take down the victims. Okay, let's paint you in a sympathetic light. Let's show all the good things that you do. Let's show that you're a loving father. Let's show, I feel like it's, they even have a producer of Call Me By Your Name saying, hey, Armie has always been a great guy. I was on the Oscar trail with him and just a lovely man. And then also, a couple of just lovely men. Yeah, Armie's fucking nice as hell. He's really charming. Like I'm saying, like, yeah, all of that is true. Like, yeah, I've had fun with Armie before. Like, are you kidding me? Like there, so he has some really kind of bigger people trying to stand up for him in this article. And I just think to what effect? At the end of the article, he says he can't even get bonded for a project, which means you have to get insurance for a project. But eventually, like with Iron Man did with Robert Downey Jr., is Jon Favreau, the director of that, took a chance on him. He, I think, offered to personally bond him and say, oh, Robert can do this. So it is going to take somebody like that, which I understand maybe it will be a Robert Downey Jr. Will we see Armie Hammer in a Marvel movie eventually?
Oh,
that's things I'm curious about,
I hope not. Honestly, I hope not. But obviously in the last episode, we spoke about Luca Guadagnino saying that he would put Armie in something again. So
the director of Call Me By Your Name, right?
Yeah. And I think there are people that are willing to work with him, which is insane. But I don't know. I'm like, Robert Downey Jr., is this the hill you want to die on? Like, it just, to me, what Robert Downey Jr. dealt with, from my understanding, was just like addiction and kind of reckless behavior when he was dealing with addiction. But did it really inflict like trauma on anyone else directly, or was it just he just like drive recklessly or something and do some other crazy stuff?
Like he did break into a Malibu home and passed out, just wasted and on drugs on this child's bed. And the parents, the child wasn't in the bed, but like they discovered Robert Downey Jr. on there. There was crack related incidents, but it was never violence or anything of that nature. Not to my awareness.
Like that to me is like, okay,
which, by the way, you should look into that for a story. You should go through Robert Downey Jr.'s. Wouldn't that be a great story?
You know what? I gotta look into it, because I think it's just been so long that, like, when I first heard of Robert Downey Jr., I think it was Iron Man. So I wasn't aware of the fact that he.
Oh yeah, because I'm older than you, and he was like, he had this huge career. Like he got nominated for an Oscar for the movie Chaplin before Ally Meal. Like he went through several phases of his career where it would always get hindered by drugs and alcohol, and then finally, after that prison, he was able to really hang on to sobriety and things like that through his wife, who's also his producing partner, and really has made such. And like, to his credit, seems like he is truly like, and that's why I don't want to shit on Robert Downey Jr. at all. I'd be actually more interested to hear an interview with him,
and why he thinks that, he wants to help Armie, because I kind of think that there are a lot of celebrities that just have like drug addictions that are maybe like a hindrance to their careers. And like he could better spend his charitable rehab money, like rehabbing maybe some of them. I don't know. you know?
Well, it's and by the way, I really highly recommend, as we start wrapping up here, reading the article yourself. And there are some of the DMs and stuff like that they chose to put in this. And I would say, I don't know, even like, it's hard because not one thing is giving you a 360 view of everything. Like, even this article is slanted. So it's hard because there's not one place where somebody is like piecing this together in this kind of brilliant way. Once again, I feel like this is slanted. I know there's a lot of DMs that I would have put in here that are not in here. And also, I do believe Effie was and potentially is in love with Armie Hammer. I think that's another power differential. I think there's grooming involved. I'm trying to find the quote about him swimming out into the ocean, because I do think that is such. And by the way, Effie had tweeted just a little bit ago. I don't know if you saw this. She tweeted that she had heard this same swimming out to the ocean story before any of this dropped. So now he's used this story in 2 different times.
Yes, and that's
this is
the
not
case for like a few things in here. So I think that, if you're going to read the article, check out her rebuttal, because I think she just defends herself and refutes the claims that he's made in the article. I don't know if any of the other women have that, were mentioned. But I don't think he's a credible source. And yeah, this was just like such a PR piece, but we haven't heard from him in a few years, and
we knew this was going to happen
we
eventually.
knew it would happen eventually. Just like not like when I was 1 tequila deep on a Friday night. Like things.
Oh, believe I had a couple glasses of wine, which I was like, whoa, and then I was like, and then I kept like putting down my phone and picking it up. I'm like, fuck, I gotta read this. I wanted to read
so
that.
Mad. I was like, you know what? Like, you got me at my weakest point. You fucker.
Why doesn't somebody release things on a Wednesday? Like, what's that? I mean, like, the middle of the week to kind of.
Because they know, Ryan, that's when we're at our strongest.
By the way, the Effie said this is not new to me in regards to the swimming out to the ocean, and like, if the ocean took me and killed me, that so be it. He told me that same ocean story years ago to evoke sympathy, but now he's claiming his little ocean dip happened after I spoke out. He hasn't changed at all. I also want to remind people that Armie Hammer told a woman he wanted to tie her naked to a tree so people could rape her all night. This was on a Pop Crave post. Pop Crave turned off those comments because they want us to feel sympathy for this waste of air. And then Anna Peel, who I brought up earlier on Twitter, said, curious how Armie Hammer decided to do this story. According to the Airmail pod, Hammer approached Kirchick through an intermediary. Who was the intermediary? But Kirchick started seeing a lot of holes in the accuser's stories. And then Anna goes on to kind of point out some of the faults of this actual author's story. So I don't know. Like, I mean, where do you go from here? And I guess one of the last question is, like, as a woman, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about a woman? I don't know your history, nor do I need to know it. But like, I just imagine if you were a woman that is dealing with a situation, not even with a celebrity, but with a very powerful or strong man, a man that scares you potentially, how do you then get encouraged to ever break free of anything? I was even watching this Playboy Murders thing on Discovery the other night, and it was talking about these powerful men, and I don't know, I just get like, why would you ever come forward if this is the shit that really is going to come out?
I mean, there's such a misnomer about women coming forward against celebrities. It's like that they want to do it for money or attention, and it's like, do you realize they're getting trolled 24/7, that they're not wasting, but they're losing years of their life, their career, their money, all because they decided to speak out, probably in the hopes that it wouldn't happen to another person. And like, I have seen firsthand with people I'm close to going through similar situations. And until it personally affects you, you don't realize the money, time, and honestly, trauma just after the incident happens and you're going through litigation, the trauma, it's unimaginable. And so it's very disheartening that he will have potentially another career rise, right? Like, he's going to be in something. And then it's like, well, what about these impacted women? Like, who would they have been if this hadn't happened to them? Like, what would they be doing in their careers? What are
are these women able to say that, oh, thank God I went through this, it's made me such a stronger person, like Armie has? And Armie says this is the best thing for him. Like, thank God he's sober now, he's all of these things, which, by the way, I can't believe you're somebody's sponsor within a year of your sobriety. Also, I wanted to share this with you. Somebody DM'd me, and like, you say, like, I can't, DMs or whatever, somebody could make up anything. It's somebody that I have DM'd with before, and I do, I've never had an issue with, but said, and this is take it or leave it, said that Army, that a friend's mom was in the same rehab facility as Army, but that Mr. Hammer was only there for a 3 weeks and not the months that he had said that he was.
That's what I heard too.
But by the way, you guys, I'm saying that's a DM. Anybody can DM, anybody can say whatever they want. But I did want to point that out of like, if we're looking at the story from every piece, you know, going to these rehabs are kind of another thing of like, look, see, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. But was he there for the entire time? And was he there, like they say on The Bachelor, for the right reason?
And just know anything that's put out in the ether in an article, like it's all going to be smoke and mirrors, because there's obviously like a plan behind it and a plan to try to rehab his image. And, you know, I won't be consuming anything that he's in ever. And I wish him the luck that he deserves based on what he really did. And I believe in karma. So, you know, I really feel for these women. I wish them the best. But
I do. I mean, I wish everybody the best. I feel like this is sad because it just kind of relitigates.
I wish him what he
again
deserves.
and again. Well, I hope Meta I hope Meta can find those mysteriously erased DMs explaining everything.
When people like are Googling things like after like when they murdered someone, it seems like we can pretty easily find.
By the way, the Idaho, this is what cured me, because the Idaho killer, which we talked about last week, they're like, you were talking about the Papa Rogers account. Well, I sure hope that Meta can find out that if Papa Rogers' account was deleted, I hope they can really find the stuff, because that could go against Brian Koberger.
In all would feel like cases that we've been able to retrieve things from Facebook. So it's kind of
it's not like Meta goes to the Geek Squad and goes, hey, the Geek Squad at Best Buy can't find it. And we're Meta, so they're the Geek Squad though. Lauren, you need to go see celebrities, by the way, please text me throughout the day and tell me all of this so I can read it at the beginning and excite people with everything that you saw today before the Grammys.
I will let you know, hopefully in the celebrity safari, we'll have some good sightings, but if not, I'm sure we'll have lots of.
Wait, is Kiki going with you?
No, Kiki's not going with me.
Is she out of town now, or is she in New York? I think she's in New York. I don't know. But
I haven't caught up with her in a minute. I think I last talked to her but maybe she is in New York.
Okay, well, I could go another hour with you easy, because we didn't even, but anyways, go enjoy this. Please let us know all of your findings. Thank you for talking about such a difficult topic. These are my favorite conversations though, because it's just, I'm so much passionate towards this, and I know you do too. And I hope we gave you a good overview of the article. But for more, always go follow the Zen Blonde. Somebody posted on my Instagram account today, I posted the Army Hammer article and this lady wrote on Facebook, I can't tell if this is real or not because you make so many jokes. And I go, that is the problem with me. But Lauren, you're insanely funny, but you don't do the bullshit I do. So you can always trust Lauren at the Zen Blonde. And new information on her new project that'll be coming up soon will be available soon. And I will make sure you guys know as soon as it is. Is there anything else coming up that we need to know about?
That's pretty much it, in the motion of getting things done. So I'll keep you all posted. Thanks for having me, Ryan. And thanks for.
Oh, dude, anytime. I thank you for doing this so last minute. I know your dance card is probably extremely full. So thank you for making the time for us. I'm sorry I was so excited, but this is stuff I'm really passionate about.